a video all about my reading journal. Read 60 books. I don't love the way that this turned out. My library is accessible for all of my friends and family to borrow books out from, but this is probably one of my favorite spreads in my reading journal. But I definitely feel like I needed one of these last year in my reading journal. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. So as you guys can see by the title, this is going to be a video all about my reading journal. Last year I created my first ever reading journal and I had so much fun with it. I definitely wanted to create one for this year as well. I think a reading journal is so much fun just to either motivate you to read or just like a fun little creative outlet. In this video here, I thought I would take you guys through my 2024 reading journal, show you guys like what spreads and things I did. I won't talk about all the books in depth as to like my thoughts and everything, because I will upload a 2024 reading wrap up. I also thought I would take you guys through spreads that I am wanting to do. I get a lot of inspiration for my reading journal spreads from either Pinterest, from Rachel Catherine here on YouTube. She has such a beautiful reading journal, and then I have taken some inspo from Sarah Caroli in her reading journal for this year. I am going to be using the same reading journal that I used last year. I was going to get a new one, but I thought it was wasteful because I haven't fully filled it up, so I thought I would just continue it and just try and have the 2 years in the one reading journal before I go on to the next journal. After that very long introduction, let's jump into my reading journal flip through from 2024, and then we'll take a look at my reading journal spreads for 2025. Alrighty, I really hope this angle is okay. I've got my tripod at a really weird point, so it's like really hard for me to double check. I thought we would start off with just a nice little flip through of my completed 2024 reading journal spreads. If you guys do want to see these spreads very fresh from when I first did them at the start of last year, then I will leave my reading journal video down below. So once we've done the 2024 flip through, I will just go through a silent flip through of all of my 2025 spreads. That way, if you just want to see what they look like, then you can. I do also really want to get some cute little like stickers for the front of my reading journal, but I think I'll do that once the journal is completed. So now let's talk about the spreads a little bit more. This here is my new title page. I quite enjoyed my title page last year, but I wanted to switch it up this year, and I found this design on Pinterest. 2025 Reading Journal of Paige Macmillan. So then I have a little goals page on the left hand side, which is what I really like to start the year off with. So these goals here are specifically all of my reading related goals. Again, I adapted this from last year's one. It was last year's one. I really didn't like last year's one, if I'm honest. I've got little circles that I can colour in once I have hit that reading goal. So just to quickly run through them, I've got to read 60 books. Then there are also like spreads following that will help me to achieve these goals. Read 4 books before buying new ones. This I really feel like I want to work on this year. So far I have been doing a pretty good job with this. I have had a couple cheat times. There are caveats to this where I am allowed to get new books. One of them is my birthday, another one is Christmas, so if I receive books as gifts, I don't count those as new books. If they're books that I've already read, then those don't count as well because they're not adding to my physical TBR. The main thing with this goal here is just wanting to cut down my physical TBR. I did a video a couple years ago counting through all of the unread books on my bookshelf, and I had about 290-ish in that video, which I thought was a lot. And then I redid the video last year and I've ended up with more. I've ended up with just over 300 unread books, which is a lot of unread books on my bookshelf, and I typically can read between 50 and 60 a year. So that's still like a really long time to try and cut down my physical TBR. But in saying that, there obviously are new books that I have on my radar that I really want to read. And so I thought if I read 4 of my older books before buying a new one, or like books that have already been on my shelf for a little bit, then that will really help to cut down my physical TBR. Cut down my physical TBR, and I want to have a less number of books than I did in 2024 that are unread. So I typically film my unread books and upload it around October each year, so that's kind of like when my like year for my physical TBR kind of runs out in my head. And last year I did a really good job of reading through my physical TBR to read 5 Christian non-fiction books. Again, I think that was the same as last year, but I just like to have that on there. Finish 5 series, which is a new goal for me this year. I am just in the middle of so many series that it would just be nice to try and cross a few of them off my list, because there are also a lot of series that I like really want to start. My last reading goal for 2025 is to read 1 newer book that I've owned for like maybe 2 years and under, followed by 1 older book that is obviously I've had on my physical TBR for longer than 2 years. I feel like I was okay at this last year. I wasn't great at this. I was definitely better at this in 2023, and so far this year that has actually been going really well. So yeah, those are all of my goals. Going on to my reading goals page with the bookshelf, so this will just help me to read 60 books. So basically I'm going to color in when I have read a book. I also have a little key down here as well with colors, and so anytime I finish a book I will just color in the book with the correlated color. So for example, if I read a romance, I'll color it in pink. If I read a fantasy, I'll color it in purple. That way I can just really get a visual of all of the genres that I've read. I did also develop this from last year, so that was my last year's one. I didn't mind that one. Next up we have my yearly TBR, so my 25 books to read in 2025. This spread I did the same as last year, but I think I made the books this year too small. So that was my last year's one, which I actually think I liked a lot more than the way that I've done it this year. So I think next year I'll probably do this exact same spread, but just make the books a little bit bigger. But in saying that, it will obviously start to look really good once I color the books in. So this is my physical TBR spread. So this spread I did develop from last year. So last year I had all the bookshelves, which I actually did really enjoy. It was really fun. However, with last year's spread, so I wrote down all of the books that I had on my bookshelf, and I had colored in the ones that I had already read. That way I could get a good gauge as to what ones I'd already read at the start of the year and what ones I hadn't. However, this year I just wanted a clean slate of all of the unread books on my bookshelf. So I decided to make this into some Dutch doors, which literally took so long. There is like a little bit of the excess here and here, but it doesn't bother me enough to get rid of it. It'll just be quite interesting, I think, to see how many of these we can get through before the year is up, basically. So here we have my series tracker. So last year I did 2 series trackers. So we had this one and this one. So I did quite enjoy last year's ones. However, I think what I did wrong last year was I literally went through my bookshelf and wrote down every single series that I had on my bookshelf, and a lot of those I didn't even start in 2024. So it kind of felt a little bit like I had wasted my time because I just spent so much time going through all of the series. So this year I decided to condense it, so it does actually go over the page as well, and I've left a little bit more room as well in case I want to start some more series this year. But in here I've just got the series that I am currently in the middle of, so you guys can see I'm in the middle of quite a lot of series at the moment. I really just want to focus on trying to finish some series, and this will obviously help me to finish my 5 series for my goal. And I really like having the titles. I really like the way that the spread came out. So we'll talk about the spread on the left, which is my books bought page. I do kind of wish I had done another one next to it. But the whole point of me wanting to do only one was that I felt restricted in the amount of books that I bought because I only had space for just the books on this trolley. However, I feel like I might have to end up doing another one of these spreads later on in the year. Last year, as you guys would have seen through the flip through, I did like a monthly haul spread of all of the books that I had bought within that month. However, I just found that like I was almost buying books for the sake of being able to do a monthly spread, whereas like I feel like I would have been a bit more controlled with my spending on books if I had just had one spread that had all of them. I've actually outlined a few more in pen, so I don't know if you can see that in the clip, just for when I do my quarterly wrap up. But I thought what I can do is outline the books in black, and then once I've read them I can color them in. Then on the right hand side I have my library reads from this year. So this is a new spread that I didn't do last year. I don't get out a whole heap of books from the library just because I do have my own library that I am trying to work through with all of my books. However, if there's a book that I'm not sure if I'll love, I'll try and get it out from the library, or just books that I've like been wanting to read and they're at the library, then I'll grab them too. My husband is a big library fiend, so we are probably at the library maybe once every couple of weeks. I don't love the way that this turned out. So this spread here was a new spread that I decided to do this year. I've called it my personal library reads. This is basically just a spread where I can keep track of who has got what book from my physical library downstairs. My library is accessible for all of my friends and family to borrow books out from, and we constantly have books on loan. So at the moment on the left hand side I've got a tab for Rachel, then I've got a tab for Shelby, and then on the right hand side I've got a tab for Anya, and then just a blank tab as well. And then I just write down who's got what books out, what date they borrowed them, and then I will also write what date it comes back, just so I can kind of keep track. And then I also know that when I'm recommending books to people, I know what I've already recommended to them, what ones they read, what ones they loved, what ones they didn't love. And I really like the way that this spread turned out. So these 2 spreads here are new spreads. Obviously I did a bingo in last year's spread, but I've kind of done an adaptation of that on the next page, I think, or maybe a couple spreads on. So we'll talk about the spread on the left. This is a Bible tracker spread. One of my personal goals, if you watched my 2025 reset video, if you haven't, I'll leave that down below, is to read through the entire Bible. So I thought I would make a spread in my reading journal. I saw the spread on Pinterest and I thought it was a great idea. Basically written all of the books of the Bible, and then I will just color them in once I've read them, and that way I can also remember what books I've read throughout the year, because so often I am going through my Bible and I'm like, oh, I want to read a book that I haven't read, but then I go to turn to it and it's got highlighting all through it, and so I'm like, oh, I've already read that book. Not that you can't reread books, because I reread books of the Bible all the time. I'm currently in the middle of Exodus, which is definitely a reread for me, but I just thought it'd be nice so that I can actually keep track of what books I have read and what ones I haven't. On the right hand side, we just have my book trope bingo. So again, saw this idea on Pinterest, thought it was really cute, just to kind of make me read different things as well, help me to branch out a little bit. Roommates, pregnancy, childhood friends to lovers, single dad / mum, enemies to lovers, slow burn, forced proximity, fake dating, pen pals, wedding, small town, good versus evil, second chance romance, academia, best friend's brother or sister, coming of age, animal sidekick, nostalgic read, love triangle, and time travel. Now with my bingos as well, my rule is that I'm only allowed to colour in 1 square per book. Then I decided to do a double page spread with a book bingo, so I developed this from last year. So that was last year's one. Yeah, I didn't really love last year's bingo spread, so I thought I would adapt it this year, and I really love the way that this one turned out. So obviously there's quite a lot in here for me to get through. Again, 1 square per book, 1 word title, library read, buy a book and read it, a classic, book with a dog, a book that was overhyped, a book on my TBR for 2025, a book that contains sport, a fantasy book, a festive read, finished a series, a book you've been putting off, set on Valentine's, a book with a lawyer in it, a book about plants, new release, a book set in space, a book about books, a book I bought for the cover, a summer book, a translated book, a novella, a 500+ page book, an audio book, a fairy tale retelling book, a popular book on Book Talk, a book with a playlist in it, a book from an author I love, an animal sidekick in it, a book that's been made into a movie / TV show, a dual POV, a romance, a dystopian, a book where the main character has my name, a book with food on the cover, the longest book on my TBR, a book in third person, a book that has been on my physical TBR since 2016. Yes, I still have books from that long ago. We're not going to talk about it. A book that has 5+ words on the title, a book that has a map, a book that is the start of a series, a second chance author for me, a book set in New Zealand, 2+ authors, a green cover, my shortest book on my TBR, a Christian non-fiction, a pink cover book, a book set on the ocean, a book from the 90s, a book with a number in the title, a book with flowers on the cover, a 1,000+ page book, and a non-fiction book. So quite a good variety. I'm really interested to see what this looks like at the end of this year. So this spread here is a spread to help me to reach that goal of reading 4 books to then buy a new one. So this is my read books to earn books spread, which again I got on Pinterest. Obviously I've got 3, almost 4 stacks at the moment. I wanted to have a few of these to show you guys what this looks like. So this is a little bit of a sneak peek of how many books I've already read this year. But basically I am outlining the books with the same color that matches the reading goal spread. So the key that has all the genres on there is getting translated onto this as well. I am undecided yet if I want to color in the book spreads or leave them outlined. So let me know down below in the comments what you guys think I should do. But this is probably one of my favorite spreads in my reading journal. Like I really love how this came out. Again, I might need to do more of these spreads throughout the year, but for now we've just got a double page spread. Monthly tracker and my genre tracker. So last year I did a genre tracker halfway through the year and I did it horizontally. I did quite enjoy that, but I just wanted to switch it up and do one vertically. The monthly spread, again, very similar to how I did it last year. But yeah, just wanted to switch it up and do something a little bit different. So obviously, as we go through the year, these will fill out to be bar graphs. Then we have another kind of like haul spread. This one here, I just wanted to do where I could print out all of the covers of all of the books, just so that I can kind of see visually all the covers of all of the new books that I have purchased this year. Then this DNF graveyard spread is exactly the same as last year's one. I did really enjoy this spread, so I wanted to keep it. I don't DNF a lot of books, like it takes me a lot to DNF a book. Like last year I only DNF'd one. I wanted to have the spread here just in case, so that those books I can record that I've like tried to give them a good crack. Then on the right hand side we have my A to Z spread. So this is just basically trying to read a book with all of the letters of the alphabet. I developed this from last year. That was last year's one. I did really enjoy this last year. Just wanted to try something new. I also just really wanted it to be on one page. I didn't do great last year, so I really want to try and do better at this year. Oh, I still have my pencil marking for Hall of Fame, so I'll need to erase that out. But other than that, this is my Hall of Fame spread. So I just did a little border with stars, which again I think this is one of my favorite spreads. This will just be all of my favorite books from the year. I just thought a double page spread will be fine. I don't rate my books with star ratings. I either liked a book or I didn't. The spread here will just be like the ones that I absolutely loved and the ones that I'm constantly thinking through. My plan for this spread is just to print out a little cover. Then we have my reading log spread. So this one I pretty much just copied straight from Rachel Catherine. I've also left another blank one as well so that I can do another reading log spread. But I definitely feel like I needed one of these last year in my reading journal. So this is just going to be an overall log of all of the books that I have read in the 1 year. My plan is to also colour in the genre section with just one of my pens that matches the key at the start of the reading journal as well. And then I will do what Rachel Catherine does, where she puts a line through it to separate it month by month. But just as for the categories, I've got title, author, genre, page number, type, and then the day that I started it and the day that I finished it, if I can record that. And that's kind of all that I've done so far. My plan for the monthly spreads is just to do them exactly the same way as I did last year. So just printing out a little cover of the book and writing down all of my thoughts. Then it just makes it really easy for me to remember what I thought of a book, and also makes it easy for my mid-year reading wrap-up video and my end-of-year reading wrap-up video. That is my completed reading journal spreads for 2025. Just as to some of the supplies and things that I use. So my reading journal is just one from Typo. Again, I mentioned this last year. It's really not my favorite. I do think I want one with a little bit of a thicker page in it, because sometimes, as you guys would have seen through some of the flip throughs, sometimes the markers bleed through. In terms of like pens and stuff, you can see on the left hand side I have got some of my highlighters that I use. These ones are just from Kmart. Then just directly above my reading journal I have my Crayola Super Tip markers. I really like these markers. I just use a fine liner pen like this. It's 0.44 millimeter. I do think it might be a little bit thick. I think next year I might get some more fine liner ones, but this is just from Kmart. You get them in a pack of 4 for like $2, so they're really cheap. That's pretty much all that I use. I just use a pencil and an eraser to just outline everything. That is pretty much everything for this video. I really hope you guys have enjoyed seeing my reading journal and all of my spreads. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Please make sure to turn on the notifications and check out my social media. It's always linked down below. If you guys have done a reading journal for this year, then make sure to send me some photos of what your reading journal looks like. That's all that I have, so I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!